What's happening Wednesday? On this Wednesday, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, guys.
I'm Bizarro Fett.
This is Wednesday. This is the officially unofficial geek channel. That is Bizarro Fett. And my name is Carrie. How you guys doing?
Howdy.
So, Joe and I, Bizarro Fett and I, have been doing the show from the car. We've been picking up our comics, driving home, and talking to you about a topic.
I'm excited for the vigil this week.
Me
That's
too.
not the topic. I'm just excited for that. I'm letting you know.
Yeah, that's not the topic that we're going with this weekend, or this week, excuse me. Woo! Thinking ahead. But we are excited about our comics, and we are excited to talk to you today about the writer's strike.
Yes, which I know hardly anything about, but she knows a lot about. So hey, we're gonna.
I'm gonna tell you about it. I'm gonna tell you about it, sir. I'm gonna tell you guys about it. So let's talk about the WGA, Writers Guild of America strike, and why is it happening? Well, guys, okay, the Writers Guild of America is basically responsible for everything we watch, basically. I mean, let's just go there. It's basically responsible for everything we watch. TV, movies. Yeah. Basically. Streaming services, definitely. Which is a huge factor in why they are striking. So, let's talk about why they're striking. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a few different things to think of right now. Their contract just came up for to be renegotiated. So this isn't coming out of nowhere. This is a regular thing that happens. And there were concerns that were brought up by the members of the Writers Guild of America that their counterparts, the producers of all these things, all these movies, television shows, and streaming services, were unwilling to budge on. So, what's one of the things? Well, let's go ahead and we're gonna talk about one of the demands that was made by the WGA first, and then we're gonna go on to a second one because I do want to tie that in to something else. Okay, so. I was watching an interview today that PBS NewsHour did with Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks was asked what he thought of the WGA strike and everything like that. And he is in support of it. And he gave a little bit of insight as to why he thinks this is happening. And he's just like, these things usually surround the advent of new technology. Something is either getting really popular or something is new, and stuff has to be hashed out in regards to it. And that thing is two things actually right now. One having to do with the popularity of streaming services versus cable, and two, AI technology. So,
fuck AI technology. I'm just putting my 2 cents in there right now.
Yes, I think most people that would be interested in hearing what Bizarro Fett and I have to say are very much anti-AI. It sucks. It sucks when it comes to... It's just like, you know what? If you have a person that can do the goddamn job, just have the person do the damn job. Okay? There's going to be a soul and a heart behind that you can't get with a machine. And I think that's the basis of that. And you know what? People should be getting paid for their work. And one of the things that the WGA wanted to have in their contract was that the studios would commit to never using AI to write scripts. studios refused. So the studios would much rather not have to pay writers and make more money for their pockets than confirming and putting that idea into writing that they would never use AI for their scripts. Now, how do you feel about that?
That's a shitty thing to do. Wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that was part of their deal anyway. But now that I know that's part of the deal, good for the WGA. And I hope they don't freaking back down on that.
Yeah, because one of the things that happens now is nobody is talking. And that goes for anything in the demands that the WGA has. What the studio wanted to do was that they kind of talked around us and was like, oh, but, we don't want to, back off of, technological advances and all that. And, basically what it means is they wanted to reserve the right to not even have to pay writers to reserve the right for writers to only be paid to clean up AI scripts. They are looking to make writers more of a freelance type of position rather than a salaried position. And that's a problem. Now, I don't think we really have to expound too much on the whole AI sucks thing. So let's go ahead and move on. Okay. So the other thing is any union strike. And by the way, if you haven't already guessed, the Officially Unofficial Geek is pro-union. No qualms about it. Pro-union. Holy shit. Okay.
I'm pro-union except for cop unions. just saying.
Pro-union to an extent then.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other thing that is obviously, it's pay. It's pay. And progressively, statistically, pound for pound, and you allow for inflation measures, writers make shit. Writers make diddly squat on these things. There was a statement made by an award-winning writer of The Bear from FX, the television show The Bear on FX. Yeah. We sometimes see the advertisements. Okay, so it's supposed to be really good. People say really great things about it. Well, there's a writer from that show that made a statement when this was all starting that he won an award for that show, a big time award, and he had to dress up. He couldn't afford to buy a bow tie.
Oh, wow.
He had to buy it on credit to wear to accept his award. There are writers that are talking about how they're writing for big network television shows and they live in a one-room apartment that they can barely afford the rent in New York City. Writers are not being paid enough to live. I mean, the thing is a lot of times when people are against unions, they think that it's just a money-grubbing kind of situation. When you have writers that we know their names, we know their work, and they can't afford to rent their apartments, that's a problem. It really kind of reminded me of, you hear all the time about how horribly comic book writers are paid. Mm-hmm. So let's bring this back to something that we talk about a lot on the channel, which is comic books. and talk about how this kind of relates and how we can relate this to the struggles of the comic book writer. Okay? To give it a little bit more perspective, something that might hit a little bit more close to home for just anybody that would normally be checking out this channel. Okay? So, let's take the top 2 comic book publishers of basically just the top 2, the big 2. That's DC Comics and that's Marvel Comics. Okay, so when it comes to how much a writer and an artist make, it ain't much. One, in relation to what the WGA is talking about, and their problem is because of the advent of streaming, residuals do not work out the same pay-wise as they would have when broadcast was king. Okay? So they need that reevaluated and redone. Standards involving that redone. It makes me think of the story that came out about Ed Brubaker having been the writer that created the Winter Soldier, and then finding out that when the Winter Soldier blew up and the MCU blew up and the Winter Soldier blew up and all this shit, all this money-making machine of the Winter Soldier happened, and he got a bonus of $5,000.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, man.
Oh, but he got his name in the credits.
Oh, goody for him.
Yeah. So
I mean, like, that is cool and all. I'm not...
It is cool. It's cool to be recognized, but you know what? You know, the name in the credits plus a nickel will buy you a cup of coffee. Okay? So it's really one of those things where it's like, but you look at these network executives, these streaming executives, these corporate executives, and they aren't, you know.
They're giving themselves $1 million bonuses.
Exactly. So that's one aspect that comic book writers and creators do not really get residuals. They do not have, you know, an appropriate situation set up for when something like that blows up, you know. So that's kind of in relation to what the WGA is going through, with one, not having a system in place for residuals in this era of streaming, plus the fact that most streaming situations, most writing situations are for less episodes. So you got when broadcast TV was king, 22
like
episodes. Yeah. So now let's think about how that relates to comic books. So let's take an example of a comic book that started out as a miniseries but thankfully got picked up for a longer series. We're going to talk about Poison Ivy. This is a story that started out as a 6-issue miniseries, but due to its popularity, got picked up as an ongoing series. Groovy, right? Okay, so one has to wonder, and there's no actual documentation or anything like that, did Wood G. Willow Wilson see an up in her pay? That's my question. Because let's talk about pay rates of comic book writers.
Well, let's talk about pay rates of the WGA writers, since that was our topic.
Well, we're going to compare it, okay? Because we're talking about WG writers complaining that they can't even afford their rent.
Can't afford a bow tie. Jesus Christ.
Can't afford a bow tie. Can't afford their rent. Have to go on assistance to get groceries. Okay? So let's think about that and think about how bad do you have to be doing to not be able to afford a bow tie in most situations that you know you're going to need, so you can plan ahead, and budget. Like, I'm going to need like $50 for this bow tie or something like that, right? And you plan ahead. How badly do you have to be doing to not be able to buy a bow tie? Okay? Let's be real here. All right? Now let's think about how badly most comic book writers and artists are doing. Keep in mind that the numbers that when you go and you look and you Google things, there are varying numbers. You have what Glassdoor wants to tell you comic book writers and artists make. But I'm here to tell you it's bullshit. Okay, 1. 2, you have to also look at what year you're looking at, because it goes down. There are numbers that are available for 2015, 2017, more recent numbers, then you're factoring in for inflation, because that is a reality of our life nowadays, and people have to live, right? So a writer, let's go with an average of what I'm finding here lately nowadays. A writer, someone that just writes for one of the big 2, earns about $100 per page of writing. Okay, sounds $100 doesn't sound all that bad, does it, Joe?
Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, like, when it seems like you're putting in a lot of effort for just $100, but I don't know.
Okay, but this is just for writers. Okay, so let's say one person is writing one big 2 book, and that's all they're doing. Okay, so $100 per 23 pages. This is 1 per month. So it's $2,300 gross. Now you have to factor in taxes, factor in the cost of healthcare.
Yes, we know all that.
Yeah. And it's not a lot of money.
No.
I can tell you it's less than what I'm earning.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, an artist on that same book can sometimes spend an entire day on a page of that comic book. 23 pages. They earn around $100 to $150 a page.
Okay.
So that's $100 to $150 a day.
All right.
That's not much. So when you have stories like that, we have the Heroes Initiative that has to pay for medical, issues for comic book writers and artists and creators. When you have, nonprofits trying to pick up the slack for multi-billion-dollar corporations, that's what the WGA is fighting against.
More power to them.
Because I definitely think that the award-winning writer from FX should probably earn more than they're earning if they can't afford a bow tie.
Yeah.
And as oh God, what is his name? Jason Bateman said, fuck no, I don't want to direct a movie written by AI,
Nice.
written by a robot. Leslie Jones says, no, I'm old. I saw that Will Smith movie. I don't want to deal with the machines and the robots. So here's the thing to look at down the road. One, pay attention to anyone that is so-called crossing these lines. And what do I mean by that? We're crossing picket lines.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Guy, freaking Jeopardy guy.
Ken Jennings.
Fuck you, Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings
I'm talking to you right now, Ken Jennings. If you hear me, you deserve to be beat up. Oh.
Ken Jennings at least deserves to lose his job over this. Ken Jennings is one of the part-time co-hosts, one of the part-time hosts, basically, of Jeopardy now. The other host, Mayim Bialik, will not cross picket lines to go to work, but Ken Jennings will. So what I'm going to say to you, dear listener, dear watcher, whatever.
If you find Ken Jennings, punch him in the face. That's what I'm saying.
Better yet, and probably way more appropriate for, normal people. If you watch Jeopardy and you support unions, do not watch when Ken Jennings is hosting.
Or if, because, you don't watch it, period. That means they're crossing the picket line.
Well, I'm just saying that when all this is over, when they inevitably, when the studio execs and everyone like that inevitably go to the Writers Guild of America, because they're going to feel the pressure of the SAG Actors Guilds and the Directors Guild of America's contracts being up as well in another couple months. When they feel that, and they eventually give the Writers Guild at least most of what they want, and everybody is back to work, do not watch Ken Jennings on Jeopardy.
Or if you know anybody else that fucking crosses picket lines.
Yes. Exactly. I'm just using that as an example, but yeah. And if you're upset that, your TV shows are getting pushed back, or your movies are getting pushed back, or what have you, pick up a book.
Books are fun. Comic books are fun.
And read. But also, support comic book writers and artists making more money, because they should be. And I hate to say this, I am a big fan of DC Comics and the Big Two and stuff from that and superheroes. But you know what? Try to integrate more indie into your reading. Image Comics, Scout Comics, Aftershock, all these, other ones that are out there, and Dark Horse even.
Image is pretty big.
Image is pretty big, but they still operate when Distillery starts up.
Yes.
Go to them. Boom Studios. Do what you can to support these smaller comic book companies, especially. And yes, I'm still including Image on that, because if you look at the compensation plan for Image, these creators all still own their work, all still get paid better than what they would with the Big Two. So that's it for us. We're back home, and we're gonna end the program there. And I invite you all to go ahead and take a look at some of these statements that are being made on Twitter, on YouTube, in interviews by actors and directors and the members of the Writers Guild of America, to find out exactly what they're dealing with involving and why the Writers Guild of America is striking right now. Look and see what they're dealing with. This isn't somebody with a lot of money coming along and saying, I want more money. This is people with very little wanting more from the people that have a lot. And that's the truth of the matter.
Right on.
But anyways, guys, thank you for joining us today. If you have any comments, concerns, let me know in the comments. And please check out my Instagram if you're not following me already at Officially Unofficial Geek. You can follow BizarroFet at BizarroFet on Instagram. And also take a look at the everything that we're doing there. But
sorry, I didn't have much to say this week. I didn't do my homework.
That's okay. That's okay, because I told you I was going to do the research, and then we would talk about it, and we'd get your reaction. So that you did the assignment.
That
dear.
Ken Jennings, I am shaking my hand right now. Punch him.
No, we do not condone violence.
I do. I condone violence. I don't care what she says.
We do not condone violence at the Officially Unofficial Geek.
There's no we in this. I do. BizarroFet, you can go check out my channel. I condone violence.
BizarroFet, you don't have a channel.
Oh, yeah.
So the Officially Unofficial Geek does not condone violence, but please do not watch Ken Jennings episodes of Jeopardy. Mayim Bialik is better anyways, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Amy Farrah Fowler. I can never say her name. You know who I'm talking about. But anyways, guys, that's it for us this week. Remember, if you see something, say something, and the complacent never make a difference. We'll be seeing ya. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.